Welcome back to episode 2 of my podcast. I've decided a name for it. Um, Kind of goofy, kind of silly. Gonna go with Let's Talk Bible.
I
Today I'm
love that.
joined by my friend Tate.
What is
Welcome,
up? What is
welcome.
up?
I wanted to kind of come on and just have a good old chat like we usually do, and to try and get some encouragement out to the people that are hopefully watching this, all two of you. Um, so I want to start out. Can you tell me a little bit about like your testimony
Testimony?
about how you came into faith?
Shoot. Testimony. I mean, growing up, I was always in and around the faith with, my parents growing up,
Hmm.
going to church. The usual like routine of stuff. But I mean, growing up, you kind of grow out of that faith. You kind of learn to live on your own, think on your own, be independent in some situations.
Hmm.
That's kind of how I was. And growing up, I had three older brothers, also like that, and uh, all three of them are quite a bit older than me. And so when we first started going as a family, all of them when they started, living on their own, thinking about, religion on their own, being independent, I was still really, really young, and so I was still like not knowing anything really.
Hmm.
And then they kind of went down the deep end, honestly, of following the world, living for the fleshly desires, and just falling into temptation. And through that, kind of set an example for me of like what not to do, because I was always around it. I lived with it. I saw it secondhand. I saw the effects that it had on my brothers, and so for me, that kind of deterred me away from wanting to do stuff like going out or partying or drinking or smoking, stuff like that. It just really put a negative image on not only the sin but my brothers also. But um, yeah, I saw that, I lived with it, and it kind of was like, I don't want to be a part of that. Like, I don't want that to be what my life is about. Um, Although I still hadn't accepted Jesus or like really knew who he was intimately, I knew that that wasn't the life I wanted to live. And so just going down that, living like day by day, I was honestly just a lukewarm Christian of, like I knew what not to do, but I didn't know what to do really. And so I, knew all the things to avoid and, not commit or fall into, but just the things that I'm supposed to do, where it's like pray every day or like read the Bible, which I mean, you don't need to do that. But, if you want to be more like Christ and, be more like Jesus and follow his ways, you're going to want to do that,
Of
and
course.
that's just never what I did,
Hmm.
I just would always, like, if someone come up to me, I'd be like, oh yeah, I'm a Christian, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But then didn't really live it out. And then I think like freshman or sophomore year, the Well, which is the church I go to,
Freshman or sophomore year of high school or college?
high school,
High school.
high school. So I was like, I think like 15 or 16, somewhere around there. But the church I go to was only in Springfield at the time, and then they planted a church here in Marshfield, where I'm
Hmm.
from. And so when they planted that church, they started a youth group in Marshfield. And at the time, I had no idea. I didn't go to church on Sundays or a youth group during this time. Although I still called myself a Christian, really, I didn't really surround myself with people like that. But one of my friends, Marcus, who I mean, a lot of people know, I think, he invited me to youth one night, and I was like, I got nothing better to do,
Yeah, might as well.
Yep. I genuinely had no idea what youth was. Like I was in and out of youth and stuff, but I just didn't know like what the vibe of this one was. And when I went, it was like there was maybe like seven of us or something. But I went, and the youth pastor at the time, Jake Schmidley, you know, was the youth pastor, and he just poured into me, and he just loved me, and just guided me through the faith. And eventually that's where I found to know Christ and gave myself to Christ at a church camp called CTR, which
Yeah.
I actually work at now. So
Hmm.
full circle moment of where I got saved at this place that I get to work at and help the kids
That's awesome.
find the Lord how I found him in the exact same place on Table Rock Lake. So that's pretty cool. But yeah, I found the Lord through going through the youth at the well and been with him ever since. Really, that's
That's
kind of what
awesome.
he's done in my life.
That's awesome. Um, that's really encouraging. So basically, kind of what you're saying is that because you saw the dark path that your brothers were starting to go down, which they've since came from,
Hmm.
because I've talked to a couple of them. Um, because you saw that, you were like, "Whoa, it's not great. I don't really want to follow that," and that's what kind of turned you towards Christ.
Yeah, in a way, like when they were living that life of just the worldly desires and whatnot, it painted a really bad picture in my mind, and like for me in general of like you always get the analogy hate the sin, not the sinner.
Exactly.
And in my mind, I did. I was like, I hate what they're doing. I don't like it and stuff. But then it just as it they continue to do it over like years over years and years and years. It came to hating the sin and the sinner.
Yeah.
To where I was like, dude, I don't want to be around my brothers or don't want to be a part of it.
Hmm.
And so, I mean, yeah, ultimately it was a pathway for me to find and follow Christ. In the end, um, was it like the path that I would have chosen? Probably, probably not. Because I love my brothers now.
Of
And
course.
I like don't would never want to like hurt that relationship how I did, but uh, that's just how God moves. He moves in uncertain ways, and He opens doors for us that we don't know that need to be opened. And so, yeah, by Him opening that door of letting me see how dark and twisted the world could be,
Yeah.
gave me hope for how bright that light could be.
That's awesome. That's awesome. All right. The next question I want to ask is recently, how has God kind of been moving through your life recently, or moving in your life recently?
As of recently, I mean, like I said in the testimony over the summer, the start of the summer, I got offered to work at Camp Table Rock,
Hmm.
which is the camp I grew up at. That's the camp that like everyone around like.
I never got the chance to go, but I remember Gio was talking about it the other day, and I was like, man, that sounds cool.
Dude, Gio's first time was this summer actually,
Yeah.
and he loved it. But like, I mean, like thousands and thousands of kids. I mean, I saw like over 3,000 plus kids this summer
That's wild.
just come into the camp, which is amazing. Um, but yeah, I got offered to work there and like be part of the video team. So like all the videos on YouTube or like the promotional videos, I got to be a part of and make and just help forward that movement of what CTR means and their
That's
values.
cool.
And so that's just that was one of the biggest doors that God opened for me because I really wanted that position at Camp Table Rock. But it's kind of like that victim mentality of like I applied for it, but I was like, dude, there's no way I get it. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Like I am not I'm not the perfect candidate for this. You know what I mean?
That's cool.
And yeah, like dude, it was real. Like I fully believed that I was not getting it. You know what I mean? I
Yeah.
was like, dude, there's like I'll apply, but if I like that's it. I'll just keep working for my dad, farming and stuff. And so I applied and sent my resume and all that stuff. And then my friend Bobby got a call, and I was like, oh, dude, Bobby's like perfect for it, obviously.
Right.
And I was so happy for him. And then a few days later goes by, and I'm not getting a call back, and I was like, I like got to a point where I was like completely kind of forgot about it.
Hmm.
And then the next thing you know, I got a call from Rick, who is the camp director. I was like freaking out. I was like, no way, dude. I was like, what am I gonna do? And so I called him, and then that's when he like offered me the job, and like we went through like a phone interview and stuff. And then he's like told me to pray and sit about it and like call him back in a few days when I have like my final decision on if I wanted to be there. And so I did. And then, next thing you know, I'm working at this camp for the entire summer, living there, eating that food, being with the kids, it was really tiring. and really
Yeah.
like exhausting. But it was well worth it. And then I'd say that was like one of the biggest doors God's opened for me, and like just changed my perspective on how the youth of our generation acts and works.
That's awesome.
And then like as of more recently, he's opened just so many doors with my schooling, where you know going into the realm that I'm going in, and he's just been opening doors with like uh, clubs I'm a part of, getting me, inviting me to like prestigious like events, and like being part of a you know in NSCS, which is like really a good membership to be a part of and stuff. He's just opened doors for that, which is beyond blessing, and he's just provided me outlets, time and time again with
Yeah.
relationships with like my friends, my family. Mending those relationships like even stronger and stronger, and then with my friends like you and Gio and Landon, Jansen, all these people, and then just like my personal relationship with like my girlfriend and stuff. It's just he's been like time and time again. He's been
Working through
planting,
all of it.
yeah, like
That's
he's
awesome.
been planting the seed, and then he's just been watering it with little things by day.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So uh, do you think that because um, I don't know if I'm gonna phrase this the right way, but do you think that because this camp changed your life so tremendously, and God knew that this camp changed you, that He knew that it would be a good idea to send you back to this camp, knowing how much it helped you, how much you could help others in the same way that you were helped,
Hmm.
if that makes sense?
Yeah. So like, are you like you're saying if like I wanted to go back?
Yeah, so God knew how much this camp meant to you whenever you were coming to Jesus.
Hmm.
So do you think that because of that, God was like, I have the perfect candidate to send back to this camp?
For sure,
You think so?
for sure. And like it's crazy because like that's I mean I fully believe that, but at the time I was like my mind was completely opposite of
Hmm.
like it's like there's no way,
Yeah.
like I ain't the guy, like I fall short. I fall short of the glory of God every day,
Yeah.
and I'm like, dude, there's this because I've seen the past workers, camp staff, and I'm like, oh, dude, these guys are awesome and so cool. And I'm like, I ain't like that. And then he was like, you know what, dude, you are. I called you. He, he's like, I don't qualify, or however that saying goes. He's like, I don't qualify the called, or
I don't know. I don't.
I don't know. There's some really good terminology. I'm forgetting. I'm blanking on. But anyway, like when I was a camper there, just going throughout the summers, and even in the fall retreats that I went to. I mean, I've gone to this camp for like my entire life, and I think it was just a stepping stone. He
Yeah.
was just building me every time I went back to that camp. He was preparing me more and more to become a leader and what that looks like from
Yeah.
the roles of what the staff do compared
Hmm.
to what the campers
It's awesome.
experience.
It's awesome. That's such a like you were saying, such a good like full circle story. I think it's awesome. Okay, next question I've got. What's in it? Can you give me an example or examples of how Jesus has helped you through difficult times, whether that's like in the past or something that's happened recently, something big, something small? Like, you have any like examples of how Jesus has helped you through a difficult time?
For sure. I mean, what comes to mind would be like in the past, or like the beginning of my walk with Christ. I'd say a big thing for me, and I didn't even realize it at the time, but like later on in life when I reflect on that stuff and think about it, it's so evident that God had it that way. Would be like the friends I surrounded myself with.
Mm-hmm.
It's like your five closest friends is who you become.
Yeah,
Type of thing.
yeah. It's like
And
the sayings like four smokers makes the fifth.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And like back then when I was like coming to Christ, or just like being really intrigued and like curious about learning who he was, and just like the whole theology of it all. There'd be moments in my life where it'd be like dark and stuff, and like I would struggle with a relationship, or some like just some little sin, or like, you know, and especially when I was growing up, especially like a time frame like kind of right before I really started going to Christ and knowing who He was. I suffered with like really bad like depression and anxiety
Mm-hmm.
of just like I was it was super super bad for me, and just in moments of my life where I don't want to be here, like I didn't want to be part of this world, and like didn't see the joy of anything. I always like saw the negatives and things,
Mm-hmm.
and but just being surrounded by my friends, like they were such an outlet for me of
Yeah.
like where I could just vent to my friends and like just tell them what I was thinking, and they didn't even have to like respond. They were just there to listen,
Yeah.
or just like being invited to hang out Saturday night and just like goof around, like
Exactly. Yeah.
just go mess around. As like those small little actions just built up like this empire that God had for me, and just built me a stronger, more confident child of Christ.
Yeah.
And I mean that especially like very early on, and like even now when I go through like lows of seasons of lows or droughts, I think one thing that I God has me leaning on is just his mundane presence.
Yeah.
Like where God is just like in the littlest things. Whereas like when I was very new to Christ, I was like he's in like the loud, big, audible changes, with like phrases or like just a very audible sound, or you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But like as I'm growing closer and closer, he's taught me like not everything's so loud and crazy all the time. A lot of the times he whispers to us, and he like knocks at our door patiently,
Mm-hmm.
not loud and overbearing. And so especially when I'm in like seasons of lows or like droughts, I'll be looking for the mundane things of just like walking around campus with my headphones off, listening to nature,
Yeah.
or like early morning walks, just like those little things where I'm like reminded of how God
Exactly.
works and how he provides the glory and all this the creation that he makes through all the small details.
Mm-hmm. I like that. I like that. Going back on what you're saying about how like you were going through, your depression and your anxiety.
Mm-hmm.
There, I really liked what you had said about how it didn't probably didn't mean a whole lot to them, but it meant a lot to you for these new friends that you'd surrounded yourself with to just invite you to, not only go to young adult or youth, but to invite you out to have fun and to surround yourself with those people. It's encouraging, and it was kind of the same thing for me whenever AJ had invited me to go try out the Well Young Adult for the first time. That
Mm-hmm.
was like last September actually,
Yeah.
or last October. And since then, I have been sticking around with this group, and it's really changed and grown me because that was a time where I was still trying to fight some of the stuff that I talked about last episode, and it was nice to surround myself with people that not only projected themselves as someone better than you, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Or but someone that sees where you're coming from and just wants to help you out, like however they can. It's nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Next question, or I guess last question, is what's the favorite way that you like to worship the Lord, like alone or like with another person, like maybe with your girlfriend? Uh, like I guess some examples I've got are like do you sing? Do you like go out and help the sick? Do
Mm-hmm.
you just like speaking about it or like preaching about it? Like what's your favorite way that you alone like worship the Lord?
Mm-hmm. That's good. I mean, that's a hard one to pick from.
Hmm.
I feel like all those are just like so
Those are
essential.
those are just examples. Like it doesn't have to be one of
Yeah,
those.
yeah. But just like even through those are just I feel like so many of those are like essential for just like a well-rounded, you know, child of God. But like I'd say one thing for me, like just me and my by myself, is definitely just like either worship or going back to that last question of just finding the mundane things and
Hmm.
like the beauty of things is like and just like crying out to God through prayer
Yeah.
because of that. And so like a lot of times I'll just a lot of the times, like in between classes, or if I don't have class and I'm at campus, I'll just walk around campus with my headphones on,
Yeah,
listening to worship music, and I'll literally just walk around campus for like hour or so,
that's awesome.
or a lot of the times, if I'm like back home, like in the sticks or something, I'll go on walks or runs without headphones. I'll just like admire nature, and like
Yeah,
that, and like through that, it like just brings out, just like it brings out prayer that you don't even know you needed to have, which is kind
exactly.
of crazy because like I feel like a lot of prayers, through like a lot of prayers that people have, are like they kind of think of what they want to say
Hmm.
in the moment, or like they kind of like put together this like script that they kind of like want to follow through a prayer. But whenever I get in those moments of just like looking at the sun setting, or like the wind blowing around, just like little mundane things, it's like almost like this prayer is impromptu.
Yeah,
It's like completely like like off the top of my head, like I nothing scripted, and
yeah.
oftentimes those are like some of the most powerful prayers I have.
I
Or
completely agree. Completely agree. There's one of the things that you've also helped me with is whenever I was first, starting to grow my relationship with the Lord, I was still kind of taking part in music of the world. Like I was listening to rap, and like
mm-hmm.
I still listen to rap. It's like Christian rap, and but the rap that I was listening to was like very very vulgar rap. And you were like, hey, try try listening to this worship song, and I listened to it, and I was like, man, this is fantastic. And so something that since then, that was probably what, like a year and a half ago, probably year and a half
I
ago.
remember that.
You
That
remember
was
that day?
Yeah. That was a while ago.
Since then, like very frequently when I go to the gym and do my lifts, I'll just turn on worship music and I'll just jam to worship music while I
Yeah.
lift. And sometimes, kind of like what you're saying, I'll finish that lift and I like to do cardio afterwards, which my cardio is usually just, getting out and walking
Mm-hmm.
outside.
Mm-hmm.
Um, should be running, but I just like to walk. But
Okay.
anyways, kind of in the same way that you're talking about, where sometimes I can just like disconnect myself, like just shut off my phone, put my AirPods away, and just get outside and just like admire the world around us that the Lord has made. And it it's exactly how you said it. Like it brings out in the completely unscripted prayer where you just like have to kind of look up at the sky and just be like, thank you for the blessing and the world that you have blessed me with.
Dude, it's real.
For real.
It's real. I mean,
For real.
um, just like how you said, I remember that conversation we had
Yeah,
about like
at
the
the
music
gym.
at,
I think Caden was there too.
yeah, about the because um like the eyes and ears are the doorway to our soul, and like
Mm-hmm.
what we listen to and what we see online or stuff like that affects how we
Exactly.
are with Christ, So if you're looking at something, just like as an example, like if you're looking at something, you're not supposed to, it's like over time that you like over time you're gonna, you know, think that is the norm
Yeah,
versus what is actually the norm through Christ. And
exactly.
same way with our ears. Like I remember I used to listen to, like that rap music, or
Yeah.
like just the secular music of the world back in like junior high.
Yep.
And this was like I don't know why, but this was before like I really found Christ. Um, I just like thought to myself, I was like, because I used to be a really bad kid that like cussed a lot in junior high,
Yeah. Same
and
here.
then kind of like it helped out going back to like your friend group and who you surround yourself with. Is like all of our friends, we kind of just like made like a pack of like why do we cuss, like why
Mm-hmm.
are we
Yeah.
or like making raunchy like jokes and stuff. We're like, why do we do this, like this is so stupid, like so stupid, you
Yeah.
don't need to be doing that. And so we kind of all stopped at the same time, which helped, my tongue and stuff, but also what I put into my ears, of like just listening to this rap that didn't, glorify the God, or,
Mm-hmm.
you know, objectify, certain things of this world. It
Yeah.
really does affect how your relationship with Christ and how you treat others,
Yeah. And that
with Christ.
and like going off of that, I think it's not to say like, we should completely abolish rap because,
Mm-mm.
the rap music that I listen to now is completely different. Like
Mm-hmm.
it's Christian rap and it's stuff
Yeah.
that praises the Lord through rap, but it's just the genre of music that I'm like, Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
yeah, that's kind of everything I had. I figured we would close this out by reading a little bit of the word. And you had mentioned Hebrews 12, so I don't know if you want to read the whole thing or that's fine.
Yeah. I
I don't know
don't.
if you want to read the whole thing or just a portion of it, but
Yeah.
here I have it. You can just read it out of my Bible.
I'll read out of your Bible.
It's New King James, so I don't know if that's the one that you read
New
or not,
New
but
King James.
yeah,
Is this King James or New King?
it's New King
New
James.
King James.
Yeah.
This is the one I read. Okay. Hebrews chapter 12.
You don't have to read the whole thing if you don't want to. You can just read a section of it.
I'll read this section right here. Okay. Hebrews 12, 1 through 2. Therefore we also since therefore we are surrounded by so great a cloud of witnesses. Let us lay aside every weight and the sin which so easily ensnares us, and let us run with endurance the race that is set before us. Verse 2. Looking unto Jesus, the author and finisher of our faith, who for the joy that was set before him endured the cross, despising the shame, and has sat down at the right hand of God, of the throne of God.
Amen.
Amen.
That's good stuff.
I
That's
love
good
that.
stuff. Do you want to pray us out of here?
I got it.
Let's do it.
I got it. All right. Dear Heavenly Father, I just pray for this moment, God. I just pray for you, God, and what you have done in our lives, God, mine and Mac's life both, God. I just thank you and just glorify you for all the mundane little things that you have accomplished in our lives, God, all the doors you have opened. So grateful for that, God. And just ask, God, that you bless anybody that watches this, God, anybody that sees this upon their feed, God, that they just know that you, God, are the author and finisher of our faith, God. You are the provider of our steps, God. You provide our way when we have no way, God. So I just thank you for that, and I just thank you for Mac, God, and his faithfulness for you, God. His obedience to your word, God, is unmatched, God. So I just thank you for that, and just get to see that and have an example for my own life when I need that, God. So I just thank you and praise you in your name. Amen.
Amen. Thanks for coming on, brother. Appreciate you.
Love you, Mac.